When you were controlled by your old nature, sinful desires were at work within us, and the law arose, and it caused the evil desires to produce a harvest of sinful deeds, resulting in death. But now we have been released from the law, for we died to it, and are no longer captive to it by its power. Now we can serve God, not in the old way of obeying the letter of the law, but in a new way of living in the Spirit. So this is what Paul is trying to do. He gave the example of the woman being married, just as an example to say that she is bound until there is death. So in this situation, the old law, the old way of living, it dies because we are now alive in Christ Jesus. And so that's why the first few words make sense at the very beginning, since you know the law, since you have read your word. At least I'm hoping you have read your word or did your daily scriptures. You know what the new law is. You know what the commandments are. So now you should be operating in such a different way. You can either gather that death ends in obligation or contracts, would help us to see in verse 4. 2 Corinthians 5:17 says, therefore, if any man be in Christ Jesus, he is a new creature. Old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new. Verse 7. Well, then I'm suggesting that the law of God is sinful if we're under it. Of course not. In fact, it was the law that showed me my sin. Let me read that again. Well, then, am I suggesting that the law of God is sinful? Of course not. In fact, it was the law that showed me my sin. I would never have known that coveting was wrong if the law had not said it. You must not covet. But sin used this command to arouse all kinds of covetous desires within me. If there were no law, sin would not have that power. At one time, I lived without understanding the law, but when I learned the command not to covet, for instance, the power of sin came to life, and I died. So I discovered that the law's command, which was supposed to bring life, brought spiritual death instead. Sin took advantage of those commands and deceived me. It used the commands to kill me, but still, the law itself is holy. And its commands are holy and right and good. But how can that be? Did the law, which is good, cause my death? Of course not. Sin used what was good to bring about my condemnation to death. So we can see how terrible sin really is.